Hello, everybody. My name is Dayan Melisov. I'm an international student from Kyrgyzstan. My major in bachelor's was biomedical engineering, and I will continue pursuing the PhD with biomedical engineering as well.
So, hi everyone, I am Dhvanii. I am a final year student from the Faculty of Science. My major is cell and molecular biology, and I currently just finished my last semester of undergrad. I'm also an international student from India, and I will be pursuing my PhD in the School of Biomedical Sciences, specifically at the Institute of Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine here. Of course, the most exciting part about the lab experience is to be able to create things, observe things, discover something new, maybe even invent something new. And that's the most exhilarating, exciting part about lab, about science, which attracts everyone to it. But yes, of course, there's so much more that goes behind the scenes, right? So there will be times when you are thinking about the research questions, when you are, there will be some accidents. Sometimes you are breaking things, you are burning your hair in the Bunsen burner, you're spending late nights or maybe even weekends at the labs, to do your experiments and to make sense of the results. I think the most memorable part for me, in my experience, was when I was able to get the chance to get to a clinical lab setting in the Prince of Wales Hospital. And so I discovered a more clinical side of laboratory experience rather than the general wet lab, right? And so we were handling patient data, clinical data from actual real people. And then that was probably one of the first times when I actually got statistical significant results in my data, good enough for publishing. And that was a very, very exciting time for me because I was able to realize the actual feeling of, being a researcher, of discovering something new, making sense of some information that was random information before, but you kind of do correlation and causation and, get some significant impactful data out of the research you've done. So I think that's very, very important for me. I was, very clear from the beginning that I want to get into the labs right away. I was very eager to get some experience in the research environment, and I knew that I wanted to do that. So I knew that I needed to get a variety of research experiences to be able to figure out what I like and what motivates me. So first thing, I looked for the major that I felt would drive me, and so that would attract me the most and interest me the most, right? And I went for cell and molecular biology because I liked working with cells and tissues and even the molecular aspects. And I knew I was very interested in, sort of clinical applications and tissue regeneration and these kind of things. So in my first year, at the end of the first year, I went for the summer research program where I worked in the genetics lab. We were researching on neurodegenerative diseases. That was my very first lab experience in the summer. And then in the second year, I went on to take a bunch of lab courses. Part of our program, I went to do a internship in the Prince of Wales Hospital here in Shatin. So I got to learn so much about the clinical side of things, right? How things work in the hospital settings when we're dealing with human diseases and patients. And that was, like a turning point. I was in an immunobiology lab and we were handling nasal samples. We were working on upper respiratory tract diseases and rhinoviruses, working with asthma, influenza patients in the pediatrics department there in the hospital. Then I went on to do another internship at the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology in India. We were working in a malaria lab looking for like targets for immunosuppressant drugs for malaria. And also at the same year, I was taking the iGEM course for the International Genetically Engineered Machine competition. So that course was all about synthetic biology, so learning all those techniques. And I think that was the point where I really, kind of learned to independently organize experiments without supervision. And that's when, you really feel like, okay, you are on this journey completely now of becoming this young researcher and everything. So in my third year we did some literature reviews where you look at some background literature, do that literature research, write reviews, do presentations, poster presentations. I went on exchange. I was able to take all of these variety of different courses from so many different areas of biomedical science and tissue engineering and even life science. So a lot of which were new, right? Maybe not available here. So that was another experience working with master's and PhD students there as well. And finally, in my last year, we all worked on our final year project. The most important part is, basically your FYP thesis. So that's what is, it's, a year-long research experience that counts really in your applications. So what can you talk about your final year project? I was working on innate immunity and regeneration, and then we were also doing a research proposal on autoimmune diseases. So, that's where you create like a research proposal. You propose an experiment, you figure out all the materials, methodologies, experimental procedures, and you prepare a proposal as you're presenting to a grants committee, right? So that's the time when you're also applying for postgrad. So your supervisors in your FYP, your previous supervisors, and all of the research that you're doing at that time also, counts when you're taking your interviews or talking about your thesis in your applications. So I think definitely for me, the big thing was, getting as much research experience as I could.
My way that led me to the PhD wasn't settled from the start, actually. So I was more like to try to explore what I really like, whether like the academia or the industry fits me. But I really get the chance to try both. So in my first year, I was really motivated to try something new, working on real research. So right after the first semester, I was emailing a professor from my department. First year, I didn't have any experience, like zero completely. And I included it in my email, dear professor, I'm a freshman student, blah, blah, blah. I'm interested in your research. I'm kind of excited about it. I accept that I don't have experience. I literally wrote that. But still, I want to try and learn and maybe become a part of your team in doing research. And that's kind of like the honesty, the braveness, that this is the two instruments that you can really use them.
I think it's like a concept here in Hong Kong and even in the US to get into PhD right after bachelor's. And it's not it's not that you can't do it. It's just that sometimes there's a difference. There are students who have done a master's degree before they apply for PhD, or who have some research experience after they completed undergrad and they went to the job market and worked before they applied for PhD. But you can still get into a PhD program right after undergrad. It's just that it depends on the country or the education system and the university you're in. For me, as I mentioned before, one of the things that really helped me was the relationships I formed with my professors early on. Building like a rapport with the professors helped me get the internships, and know people that I could approach to get the research experience to join the lab and the projects in the first place, and get recommendations for my postgrad applications later. So, talking to professors as much as possible, building a good rapport with them right from the beginning was something that really helped me. Obviously, I feel like during applications, it's always good to have kind of like a rough idea of what your research interest is, but I would suggest not to narrow your choices too much. Apply as much as you can to as many.
So from my side, I would suggest everybody to be brave, basically. Yeah, to have that, to be proactive. Don't worry about what anybody will say, but because being brave is it's not to look, oh, let's say it's a great chance for you to grasp opportunities as much as you can. Let's say without this, let's say, trait, I wouldn't have probably applied for internships, or which is not my area, or email my professors without any experience. I will just, because all of you, me and like all of us have a one excuse, very huge excuse, which is youth. Like, you are young and you are quite, like, it's understandable for you, to be brave, to explore everything you can. Don't limit yourself to a narrow point. Be proactive. Be such a unstoppable student. That's how everything would come to you. Like, you would be very lucky. It especially applies to me. I'm a very lucky person in this sense. So that would be my advice for students.